Hi guys, this is your host Nikesha, mental health consultant. This channel is all about mental health, and on each video I give you guys tips on how you can be intentional in improving your mental health and well-being to achieve the vision you have for your life. Hey guys, so today I want to talk to you about how to avoid unnecessary relationship conflict. Now, the reason I felt like it was important to make this video is because right now with the pandemic, I'm seeing a lot of patients whose relationships are in turmoil. A large number of my patients right now are in the process of, they're either considering divorce or they've started to file papers. And I have a lot of clients that I see, and out of all the clients that I see, I only have one client who the lockdown has actually made their relationship stronger, whereas with the rest, it's falling apart. Now, in most of those cases, it's relationships that already were having challenges and were really struggling before the pandemic, but COVID has actually just heightened the issues. So things that they were able to sweep under the rug before, now they're not really able to. Some of my couples, they were not in this, even in the same bedroom. For some, one was even living in a completely different floor of the house. And now with lockdown, the house just doesn't feel like it's big enough for the two anymore, along with the kids. So having to be in the same space is really heightening a lot of the problems that they had before, and a lot of the stress outlets they had before are gone, and they're not really able to leave the house and connect with others socially as much as they used to. So this video is not to say that it's going to repair all the problems that you have in your relationship, but it's certainly going to help us avoid the conflicts that are very unnecessary. A lot of these things that come down to communication, that we can really, sometimes you could even be saying the same thing and not even realizing it, because you're both kind of yelling over each other. So guys, we're all walking around in the same planet, but you don't have to live very long to see that although we're in the same world, we're all seeing things very differently. So I talk about this in a couple of my other videos, the fact that we all go through this life with a filter, okay? So, and I likened it to wearing sunglasses versus wearing clear glasses. So, if you're tired, if you're dealing with mental health issues, let's say for example, depression or trauma, or, you just faced a major disappointment, or the loss of a loved one, or just something that's really important to you, or you're hungry, okay? There's that term hangry. All of those different things speak to your mental state, and your mental state influences the filter you're using at that particular point in time when you're walking through this world, right? So if someone approaches you with a topic when you're tired or when you're hungry, the conversation may go very poorly, because you're not in the right state of mind to even be having that sort of conversation. You're already on edge, and you're already a little bit irritable. So I'll give you the example of something that can happen right now during the COVID restrictions. Let's say you have a couple, and one is Tommy, the other is Sally. Tommy says to Sally, you know what, I'm not going to be able to see you very much during this pandemic. Not only do we have the social distancing guidelines, but also my mom is immunocompromised. And so I don't want to risk getting her sick because I actually need to be able to visit her. And then Sally gets really upset and says, I can't believe you're saying you don't want to see me. And then Tommy's like, what? I didn't say I don't want to see you. I said I can't see you. So that conversation, okay, is going very differently in the minds of Tommy versus how it's going in the mind of Sally. So Tommy may be thinking, I've just communicated that I'm not able to see Sally because I have a family member that's immunocompromised and I don't want to risk getting them sick. Sally may be hearing, Tommy doesn't want to see me. Oh my gosh, maybe Tommy actually wants to break up with me. Maybe Tommy doesn't love me. I knew he didn't love me. This is proof that he doesn't love me. This is proof that no one loves me. I'm unlovable. I remember this happening with my exes. They made excuses of why they couldn't see me, and then they dumped me. This is how it always goes. This is going to be my life. Oh my gosh, I'm going to die alone. I'm never going to find someone that wants to spend time with me. And the thoughts have completely spiraled, okay? And because for Sally, her thoughts have spiraled, she's not even hearing what Tommy's saying about the family member that's immunocompromised. For her, this is evidence that Tommy doesn't love her, doesn't genuinely want to spend time with her, and that she's just not lovable. So the two people are having very different conversations in their minds. And this can happen even if your partner is not dealing with depression or anxiety. So for instance, let's say your partner feels like, throughout the relationship, some of their needs are no longer being met. So let's say, for example, Tommy works a lot and Sally feels that when Tommy is with her, he's not really asking her very much about her day, or he's not really taking a lot of interest in what's going on with her, or she just feels like emotionally he's not opening up enough to her. So she's been feeling like her emotional needs are not being met. So in this particular case, maybe Sally's not even dealing with depression, but she's feeling some resentment about her needs not being met with Tommy. And so because she already has that lens she's viewing things from, she's hearing something very differently from what he believes he's communicating. This can also be based on the different styles of reasoning both people use. Some people tend to be on the very logical end of reasoning, so they like to use a lot of rational reasoning. Some people are a bit more on the emotional end and use more emotional reasoning. And then some are a balance of both. So for instance, let's imagine that Tommy uses a lot of logical reasoning. So for him, when you say something to him, he just kind of sees it as it is. So when he's communicating, I can't see you because, my mother is immunocompromised. I don't want to get her sick. He's thinking, this is what I'm communicating to Sally. That's what it means. There's nothing more to it, right? And then for Sally, she may be thinking, I don't know how long it's going to be that I'm not going to see Tommy. Tommy may be thinking, it's not even going to be that long before we see each other. Maybe it's just a few weeks. And during that time, we can still video chat. We can still talk on the phone. For Sally, she really values that in-person time. Let's imagine that Sally is depressed, and when a person is depressed, there is that emotional void that's there. They can feel very disconnected from others. So for Sally, having Tommy physically present can be moments where she feels like she's not as alone. She may be gaining a lot emotionally and just from having him there. So to her, those few weeks apart feel like an eternity. And it's hard for her to cope with that time apart. So she's wondering, why is it that it's so easy for Tommy to have that time apart from her? And so she's thinking that if he's able to take that time apart from her, no problem, then maybe he doesn't really value spending time with her as much. Maybe, she's not that important to him. And that's the way that she's perceiving it. So this is where communication really comes in, okay? If Tommy knows that Sally tends to be more on the emotional reasoning end of things, it is not beneficial to communicate things to her from a very black and white, point blank sort of thing, right? Speaking very facts-based is not going to connect with her if she's using emotional reasoning. So it's really important to know your partner. So when you see your partner becoming upset, right, it's really important to look beyond what they're saying and to look at the heart of what they're saying, to really try to understand what is underlying their reaction. So he may be thinking and feeling very confused about, why are you getting so upset when I'm explaining to you, this is me trying to protect my mom's health. But it's really important for him to, rather than go on the defensive, try to understand why Sally is feeling that way. Unless Sally is a person that's void of empathy, she's not really thinking that, she doesn't care if your mom gets sick. She's not thinking that she wants your mom to get sick. What she's thinking about is the fact that, in her situation, she just wants to spend time with Tommy. She wants to know that Tommy really loves spending time with her, that Tommy loves being with her. She wants to feel that reassurance, because at this particular moment, she's feeling very insecure in the relationship. What's beneficial to this relationship, if they both want to be together, is for him to try to meet her where she's at. So one thing he could do, instead of just kind of telling her, I can't see you because I'm protecting my mom's health, he can actually speak to her and say, I really want to spend time with you, and I love being around you. And these few weeks, these weeks that we're not going to be able to see each other are going to be hard for me, as it's going to be hard for you. But I'm really thankful that we can see each other over video and that I can still hear your voice over the phone. And I'm going to be that much more excited when we get to see each other. Basically just validating for her that he does want to be around her. If he doesn't infuse any emotion in it, she's going to think that he just doesn't care. And being nonchalant with your partner, especially if they're more so on the emotional end of reasoning, is not going to be beneficial or healthy for the relationship. And even after the conversation is over, it's very likely your partner is going to continue to think about it, and these are things that can add on to feelings of resentment. Now, as far as when you're with someone who is dealing with a mental health concern, like for example depression, it's extremely important to understand that they do tend to personalize a lot of things that you say. They are going to think a lot about the things that you say. Some of us will say that we're overthinkers, right? And you can be an overthinker without depression. But it's going to be that much more so if you're depressed or if you're feeling anxious. You're going to overthink, and a lot of the things that you're going to pull out from the situation are not going to be things that make you feel good. So if you are, for example, a person that is in a relationship with someone who is living with depression or anxiety, you want to be very careful with your language in terms of communicating news to them that they may not enjoy, or if you think they're going to be fine with the news and you see them reacting like it's a problem, you just want to try to be attentive to how your partner is feeling. Now you may be thinking, well, the solution is to maybe I just need a new partner. I need someone who isn't as emotional. And possibly, but at the same time, you can't take one trait without the other. So let's say you decide to date someone who tends to be more so on the rational reasoning end of the spectrum like you. They may be missing a lot of other traits that you value. So for example, let's say maybe they're not as nurturing as your current partner, and that's something that you really love about your current partner. Maybe they may seem a bit more emotionally detached, and for you, maybe you won't really enjoy that when you have it. So it's just important to look at your partner as a whole. So maybe certain traits they have are not things that you love, but there are going to be a lot of other things about them that you love, and every great trait will come with not so desirable traits, and that's just what it is with human beings, right? Now, having emotional reasoning is a really good thing to have. It can make you someone who is more attentive to the needs of others and more empathetic. It can make you, more of a nurturer, and someone that's more giving, and that's a really good thing. Now I want to make it clear though that it's not an automatic. You can have a lot of emotional reasoning and not necessarily be nurturing or empathetic to the needs of others. Having one trait does not necessarily guarantee another. Now if you're someone who tends to be very much a logical thinker, this is probably going to have served you very well in terms of your own mental health, because you're not personalizing a lot of things. When bad things happen to you, you're not generalizing them. You're not kind of catastrophizing where you think that it reflects on your future and the rest of your life. So for your mental health, this may be actually very beneficial, but it may not be very beneficial in terms of your interpersonal relationships. It's really important to be able to have that emotional attentiveness, that emotional intelligence when it comes to dealing with different people, because everyone is so different. Now, if you're someone who tends to be on the emotional end of the spectrum, that may not be good for your mental health either, because it can actually make you more prone to things like depression, more prone to things like anxiety. Now, being someone who's more in the rational reasoning sort of things does not necessarily guarantee protection from mental health concerns either. And in fact, it can actually make it more difficult for you to really be able to identify and attune to your emotions, which that, you know, understanding and identification of your emotions can actually help you to be resilient when it comes to mental health concerns. So, you know, again, being more of that logical thinker is not necessarily guaranteed protection either. It's just what happens is that you're more likely to be able to be resilient in the face of mental health concerns. And also being more on the logical end of thinking is not going to guarantee that you can't have healthy relationships. That's absolutely not the case, but it does make it less likely that you're going to have a number of intimate social connections, because a big part of intimate social connections is emotional connection. So being balanced, having the ability to be to think emotionally, and the ability to think logically and blend the two is far healthier, because that's going to help you in terms of your emotional health. It's going to allow you to be very in tune with your emotions. It's also going to help you in terms of your interpersonal relationships, because you can adapt more depending on the kind of person that you're talking to or the person that you're in relationship with. So having a balance of the two, being more so in the middle end of the spectrum, is the part that's going to help you in terms of your mental health and in terms of your social health. But again, it's not necessary for you to be born that way. These are things that we can learn. For the most part, most of us can learn this. Now, it's really important, guys, that you are able to tailor your language for the person you're with, because all of these things do come back to you later. It's kind of like planting seeds, okay? And whatever seeds you plant, you are going to reap the fruit of it later. So for example, let's say Tommy and Sally have that conversation, and Tommy just says to Sally, you know, flat out, I'm not going to see you because I'm trying to protect my mom's health, and just kind of leaves it at that and just kind of ignores how Sally is reacting to the situation. So then let's say later, they're just, you know, kind of going on about the day, and then Sally gets really upset because Tommy did not take the clothes out of the dryer. And Tommy's like, oh, I'm sorry, I forgot, let me just take the clothes out of the dryer. And Sally says no, and she's still upset. Or let's say she lets him take it out, but she's still very angry. Clearly, it's not about the clothes in the dryer, okay? If this conversation was about laundry, the easy solution would be to go ahead and take the clothes out of the dryer. But the fact of the matter is, it's not about laundry, okay? A lot of times when people have built up resentment or any sort of negative feelings about us, they're going to find roundabout ways to kind of release some of that frustration. So in Sally's case, she may be feeling like Tommy really does not invest in this relationship the way that I do emotionally. He does not care about my needs, and him leaving the clothes in the dryer is just another example of that. So for her, the laundry is a safe topic for her to use to address this issue with him, rather than addressing the underlying issue head on. And to expect people to take a more direct approach is not always realistic, because some people, that's just not their disposition, it's just not their personality type. And so, you know, now Sally's expressing a lot of upset about the laundry. And for Tommy, he could be thinking, this is absurd, this is ridiculous. Why are we fighting about the laundry? It's really not that deep. But the point is that it's not about the laundry for Sally, okay? So what we want to do is really get to the heart of it. So if you see your partner getting upset about something that you think is really not that important, chances are that they're not getting upset about whatever that surface level issue appears to be. They're actually upset about something deeper, and the surface level issue has actually reminded them of that. So it's really going to be helpful when you see these things happening to address the issue head on. That's a good opportunity for you guys to just pause for a minute and be like, look, what is really going on here? What are we really upset about? And let's just talk about this. Let's resolve it, because every single issue that goes unresolved continues to accumulate. It piles on one after the other. And the next thing you know, your relationship is falling apart, and it's like, we really don't know why. This is something that it's important to practice, okay? And I promise you, it gets easier with practice. It gets easier with time. And the more you get to know your partner, the easier it will become. That's why it's really important to be able to read your partner, to really be attentive to what they're expressing to you. You need to know the kind of partner you have. There is no benefit in communicating with someone using emotional reasoning if they understand logical reasoning, and vice versa. You communicating things in a logical way when they understand emotional reasoning, okay? So for example, let's say you would like to, for you guys to get a dog, and your partner, let's say he's someone that's, your partner is more on the logical reasoning end of things, may feel like, I don't see the purpose of a dog. You don't want to try to convince your partner talking about all the emotional benefits of having a pet, because they're not going to understand that. To them, they want to see practical reasons why a pet is beneficial. So it's really important to try to meet your partner where they're at in when it comes to communication. So guys, I can't even express enough how much a large number of the arguments we have in relationships are completely unnecessary and entirely avoidable, okay? And I don't mean avoid in terms of we don't ever address things. What I mean is it's avoidable in that if we would really address what our actual issues are, we can get a lot further than arguing about things that remain on the surface that aren't really what's going to bother us. And I'll give you guys another example. So one couple, we'll say is, we'll call this one Billy and Tiffany, okay? So Tiffany is saying she wants a divorce from Billy because, and the reason she's given Billy is that she does not like the fact that he does not take an interest in the things that she takes an interest in. You know, she wants to go hiking and he never goes hiking with her. And then Billy responds by saying, you know, Tiffany is so petty. I can't believe you're going to divorce me and throw away our family. You're going to break us up, throw away our entire history together because I didn't go hiking with you. And Billy's so frustrated and thinks, what kind of woman did I marry? And the issue is not the hiking, okay? When people get married, they usually have a vision for their relationship, which involves shared experiences. Being able to bring your partner into things that you enjoy, you being able to do the same for them. Perhaps when you were single, you were doing a lot of things by yourself and you felt like, you know, I really want to be with someone so that I can do this with someone else. Then you marry this person and they're not taking part in things with you. You can end up feeling like you're single even though you now have a spouse. And that's something that can lead to feelings of frustration and resentment. So even though Billy's hearing hiking, that's not the issue for Tiffany. For Tiffany, she wants to know that her partner cares about the things that matter to her. She wants to know that he's able to sacrifice, for example, let's say he'd rather watch TV, but he's able to sacrifice the things that he may want in that moment for things that are important to her, to make her feel good, to make her feel wanted, to make her feel cared for. And so that's why all of these actions, even though they may seem small, are actually very, very important to building a healthy, happy relationship. So for Billy, unless he actually understands that the issue does not come down to hiking, he may find that he's having the same issue in future relationships, and even if in a future marriage. A lot of times we repeat patterns. And so he may find a future relationship or a future marriage falling apart for that same reason. So again, so if you want to save your marriage, in this situation, it's not beneficial for Billy to be thinking my partner is petty. It's really more important for him to think, what is it that's really bothering Tiffany? If I want to save this marriage, what, you know, is it that she really needs? Let me ask her, let me approach my partner with a sense of openness and curiosity, rather than the place of labeling and judgment of, you know, for example, saying that she's petty, for instance, right? And sorry, and the way that I'm using these examples, guys, I don't want to give the impression that it's gender-based. It absolutely is not, because even as women, especially women who tend to be more logical reasoning, rational reasoning type of thinkers, we face this a lot as well. It's very common for someone who's more in rational reasoning to date someone that's more of an emotional reasoning sort of individual. So for women, we face it as well, where we may have a partner that does tend to think more on the emotional end of the spectrum when it comes to these sort of scenarios. So it's not, I don't want the men that are watching this to think, oh, it's females, women are on another planet, it's so hard to understand them. That's not what it is. It's more so about your thinking style. It's absolutely not about gender. But like I said, guys, it's really important to try to cultivate balance, and that way it makes it easier for you to be flexible and adaptable to your relationship, depending on who you're with and depending on also the particular situation you're in. So guys, for those of you that are in relationships, or even those that are single and you remember what some of your past relationships were like, do you find yourself arguing about things that seem completely absurd, seem very silly with your partner? Do you find yourselves arguing about things that don't even seem that meaningful? If so, I want you guys to take the time and ask yourself, what are we really arguing about? What is it that could actually be bothering my partner? What sort of questions should I be asking him or her to get to the heart of what the real issue is? And vice versa. Are there things that I'm upset with my partner about that I have not talked to my partner about, that I've been dodging? Have I noticed at any point that I might have been arguing with my partner about something that, he or she didn't understand, that maybe seemed like a small thing to him or her? Was I really addressing what my real concerns were in that argument? Have my frustrations or unresolved resentments towards my partner been coming out in different ways, or have I been addressing the issues head on? If the answer is no, then this is the day. Today is the day to start addressing some of those issues, try to start resolving them, and working towards a healthier relationship and the vision we want for our relationship and our shared life together. Okay guys, if you enjoyed this video, please hit the thumbs up icon to let me know that you've liked it. Also share this video with anyone you know that would enjoy it or benefit from it. Don't forget to subscribe, and I love reading your comments. So if you want to talk about any funny stories or any current situations you might be facing with unnecessary conflicts, then also go ahead and post those below. I'm excited to check them out. And yeah, so guys, I will look forward to catching you at the next video.